pile of slag and a smoking crater, and I think the town would definitely like to know that.
So the town's no longer in danger from foreign aggression, is what you're telling me?
Not only that, but we also blew up another horde that was moving east behind the horde that was bombing us, because apparently they were on the run from them. Somehow they never figured out just to turn a cannon west and bomb the shit out of them, but we did.
May I ask a question?
Certainly.
What's your name again?
Marisol de la Luna.
Marisol. As far as you see things and what's going on in this town, what are the pros and cons? What are you for? What are you against? What would you like to see happen?
5 days ago, refugees from Connie Land, having been harassed by various raiders, gunshot shells, artillery strikes, and wild claims that I can't believe, started flooding near the Brightwater area. When they arrived, they at first, of course, were welcomed with open arms, their fellow Ganders. But as they began to accumulate, Brightwater got a little mean, a little uncaring, a little more concerned with their own home plots than with the plight of the people that were coming through. It first began surfacing when people noticed that with so many people arriving, the food stores were going to run low. Pressure was put upon... Hold on. Pressure was put upon the visitors to wander further eastward, but many of them had already lost everything getting here, so they had no money, no way to do so. Squatter camps began showing up around the walls, and because they were squatter camp, sanitation became an issue. Eventually, some of the younger boys and the younger girls began attracting attention of other younger boys, younger girls in town, and, well, you know how that story goes when some young child ends up being fond of someone the parents don't approve of. And there has always been a bit of tension between Connies and singers. Most of Brightwater is composed of singers and youpers. The Flashpoint incident was an altercation between two young men in a bar. A gun was pulled, no one died, but shots were fired. After that, it became very tribal very quickly, with every Connie that was inside the limits of Brightwater, including Connies that had lived here for over a decade, being forced out of town. I would love to say that our current mayor did what he could to enforce Singer law, but as he did have what looked like an armed insurrection on his hand, he cracked down on the martial side of things and let it happen. His main concern seems to be with order and peace rather than actual the due process of law and people's rights, and that's the way these things have been spiraling out of control ever since. You know how major factions in the town debating what should and shouldn't happen with the town budget. A lot of manpower recently has gone out of maintaining the fields and trying to recover the fields and rebuild the buildings first. When that was diverted to build that ramshackle wall, talk began about making a trench with a wall behind it and manned guns.
Bigger.
There are also other competing things that need to be done for civil improvements. Some people want to put more investment into the water system and the irrigation, which was damaged in the artillery attack. Other people want to set up a kind of a water tower. There is debate about should we improve the power plant. As with any crisis, everyone comes out with their pet issue. But the main two seem to be making some kind of defensive barrier, as it's called, and deciding who can and can't live within the city limits.
Well, to be perfectly honest, miss, I don't disagree with the first, because we may have blown up one horde, but something was pushing them east, and there's whatever's pushing them east is pushing other people east too. There will be more, and it will be large and organized.
Brightwater's never had a wall. I grew up here as a child before I went to Lansing to get my degree and then come back out. We never had a wall. That's why we've had so much trade. We put up a wall, we're going to adversely affect the main money cow that comes through this town. That's the cattle trade. They will go somewhere else where it's easier to move the cattle in and out of the town.
Can Veronica...
Understandable, but unfortunately I think we live in interesting times.
Would Veronica be able to... I mean, she's a trader, so, like, would she be able to figure something out as far as, like, how that would affect or any bonuses? Or
Give me a travels roll.
I don't have travels.
I do.
Alright, you give me a travels roll. You give me a barter check. We're going to use the barter to hire a TN. You need a TN 10, he needs a TN 8.
There were two major issues for the whole building defend the wall, and the second one was what to do with the...
I only got a 4.
Who can and can't be in the town.
10.
Oh, wait. I only got a 6.
In cruising your travels, you've seen towns that have walls. How they've managed to keep trade going through is actually the trade centers outside the walls.
Yeah, that's what that popped in my head when I the roll. Cities have been doing that since the Bronze Age. It's not a huge deal. It's just
It makes
a matter
it
of
harder.
mapping.
It makes it harder to police crime outside the wall, but it does give you a secure fortress inside the wall, basically, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's something we've been doing since the Bronze Age. I figured there's a way around it, and I'll tell Marisol as much. I said there's ways around doing the business of the wall.
2 days time is a big town hall meeting. Maybe you can propose it.
But needless to say, I need to go ahead and get this report out.
Then there's the issue of the military coming and setting up a fort.
Well, then again, that was already being proposed before all this shit happened. For the very reason I stated, there's been movement out in the plains.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of movement. Even the freaking Sioux are being hard pressed.
Every time the Lansing government has set up a fort out here or some kind of, let's call it defensive position, it has quickly grown, and usually what happens is people get thrown off their land for the good of the fort. Mm-hmm. And no one likes that.
Well, understandable, but greater good and all that. Like I said, man, I hate to tell you, we're living in interesting times. Things are changing fast and hard, and a lot of people are going to die before it's done.
A lot of people are already dying, and Lansing did nothing to help them. Now they come here for help, and Lansing suppressed them almost as hard as the Raiders are.
I'm not going to disagree with you, and I'm telling you as a fellow Connie, I'm definitely going to poke my nose into this hard. I'm going to figure out what's going on. I got a nasty suspicion there's more than what it looks like. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But if he's in the wrong, I will not be shy about saying as much, and publicly. And considering that I'm the one that blew up that damn cannon, well, I think my weight will carry. And I'd like to tell the whole town that a Connie destroyed the cannon that was destroying their town.
So if I let you broadcast your story, you're going to spin this from the Connie angle instead?
Oh, I will stress the fact that the person that they want to keep out of their bars and shops is the person who saved their asses.
That appeals to her.
And the men who were all native to this town that followed me out there will vouch for me.
So when I was little, I was sickly, which is when my father brought me to Brightwater. He'd come see me whenever he brought his cattle trail in. When I got older, he sent me to Lansing to get an appropriate degree for my disability. I never really got to see much of my homeland. That doesn't mean I don't love my co-colonies any less. If you will get on the horn and you will cite what you saw and make a point that Connies are ganders too, I have no problems broadcasting for you.
Alrighty then.
But you say one thing that makes Horace Greenlee look like he is a saint. I'll only cut off the broadcast. I will shoot you dead.
Oh,
I hate that man.
Believe me, Horace Greenlee's anything but a saint. And, well, let's just say that he and I will still have our differences after this.
Excellent. That she backs up, and you notice when she's referring to her disability, she's actually in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
She wheels backward, wheels over to the broadcast booth, sets things, points over to the mics for you to sit down. Hello there, Brightwater and all the surrounding wastelanders with ears for soul. I have a bit of good news for you. You are no longer a threat from death from above. I have here the hero of Brightwater, Mr. Bert Gummer, his friend's father Santiago, Veronica Rose. And if it can be believed, not only the heroic men and women of the BES, but a contributing Elsa. Yes, that's right. I said it. There actually aren't all those damn fatherlanders aren't actually all bad. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the testimony of all those average people and Miss Etta Mae Browning. And she clicks on the radio for you all to speak.
Make sure you mention each faction.
Like I said, we want to mention each faction. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Sergeant Bert Gummer, formerly of the militia. I was hired as a guide for this little expedition under Captain Shiro. Unfortunately, Shiro cannot be with us. She's alive and well, but unfortunately also disabled at this point in time due to injuries suffered in combat.
She's with us.
Oh, I thought she was still unconscious. Oh, okay.
Several days later, she's with us.
Oh, okay. You never mentioned that, so I assumed she was still out.
Nope, she's here.
Okay. Well, under the command of Captain Shiro, who was badly injured in combat, and fortunately is still with us.
Got some towels though.
Now, what has happened here, gentlemen and ladies, is, well, we destroyed the cannon. It was a very big cannon, heavily protected by the Raiders. What were the names again?
The long blades.
The Raiders, the Long Blades. Thank you. I couldn't remember. It was something Blades, but I couldn't remember what it was. The Long Blades. Also destroyed at the same time during the operation was another horde coming east, the Mongols, which we used the cannon for before we decided to destroy it. So, we hit 2 birds, or actually 3 birds with 1 stone. The hill and base for the Raiders, the Long Blades, is now nothing more than a smoking, burning crater. They have lost their entire base of operations, their entire supply depot, and pretty much every asset they have, but their 2 legs. They have fled out into the wastelands, where, except for maybe the occasional unlucky traveler, nature shall take its course. We unfortunately also suffered some heavy losses. I am sad to say that about half the expedition ended up dying in this thing, mostly in the hands of ghouls in the tunnels underneath the hill. However, fortunately, we had another ghoul who was willing to help us and guide us, as well as help us destroy the cannon. He was being enslaved by the Raiders and more than happy to aid.
Oh, that's me, says Radstein.
Yes.
What's his name again?
Radstein.
Radstein. That's awesome.
Yes, Dr. Radstein here, pun intended, was of great assistance. So I'm hoping the folks here will at least treat him with a certain degree of tolerance and acceptance. After all, your asses wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his. Glowing and turd-like as it may be.
Bert, keep on track.
You hear Radstein mutter, it's kind of green and moldy, actually. It's America's ass.
Well, anyways, folks. So, anyways, I'm sorry, I can't green and moldy. That's got an image in my head I'm never going to get out.
Radstein.
Oh, God.
Green mossy ass.
Oh, man. Couldn't help it. Came up with it. Now I can't get rid of it. Oh, my God, it's disgusting. Thank you, James, for that wonderful image.
You're welcome. I live to serve.
Fuck you, James. Anyways, let me get back in character here. So anyways, this combined expedition of Connie, Brightwater, Ghoul, and Raider, because I'm not going to forget our explosive experts, though she seems to have disappeared on us. Damn, she didn't even get paid.
Oh.
No, I'm going to let her get paid.
Yeah, she would have stuck around long enough to get paid. Because, I mean, Raider, money, kind of like a thing.
So anyways, Connie, Gander, Ghoul, and even Raider helped destroy this threat. So, folks, I hope that people in town here will be willing to serve me a drink, because otherwise I'll be kind of put out, but because I am definitely going to be tired after this. And now I will proceed to go into, out of character here, I'm going to go ahead and start giving the full details in blow by blow what exactly happened from the moment we left all the way to the time we got back. I'm not going to repeat that because that would be like hours.
Yeah, excluding the whole...
Excluding the secret ghost people.
Oh.
Marisol goes. After you finish your speech, he turns to Father Santiago. Father Santiago, tell the good town and the people outside, what exactly would be the Christian thing to do in this situation?
Well, ideally, the Christian thing would be to, you know,
stand up here. Sitting in that position hurts.
Open up our hearts to everyone.
Keeping people out in need just doesn't seem like something Jesus would do, does it?
No, not at all. Not my understanding of how Jesus might act. He would take in all people.
And I can't help but think to like
I didn't know you had
the
this.
biblical scene of. I can't help but think of the biblical scene of Jesus feeding the masses with the loaves and the fish, giving what he's had and letting it multiply. Surely, with modern technology and acumen, our bright engineering minds, there's something we can do to help feed people. Don't you agree? Careful. Roll your intelligence.
You're being led into a trap here.
See if you can intuit what she's trying to do.
She's leading you into a trap here.
Oh yeah, see my character can. 8 plus 2.
With a raise, you realize, holy shit, she's using some kind of cat's paw against the mayor.
Right.
She's trying to draw you into an argument, get feel like you're on her side.
Well, I certainly can appreciate, obviously, the Christian point of view as you're espousing it right now, or as you're articulating it.
If your brother asks for your robe, give him your coat also and all that.
One always wants to be as forthright and as generous and as helpful as one can, but you do have to balance that with the reality on the ground. You may not know that I'm both a theologian and a soldier, so it's a very delicate balance. One that Bert Gummer here is actually, despite his hot-headedness sometimes, is very well aware of.
Miss Rose, in your travels, have you ever seen a town respond to an emergency the way the mayor of Brightwater is responding?
I don't know. Has Veronica seen that?
Yeah, let's say.
Veronica's seen all kinds of shit.
James, you're creating a pretty complicated political situation here.
I told you, this is going to be a social adventure,
Very
yeah.
delicate.
Okay. Can Veronica roll like speech or something like that to get herself out of this?
You may roll speech to try to flip it on her and get a reversal, yes. Remember when Matt and I said earlier, one of the things I do best... Oh, okay, good. One of the things I do best is in war games. War games are very social. People that played Vampire with me hated me because I usually ended up controlling the coiterie.
So that's a 6,
Yeah, one of the
a
things you
3,
quickly learn
and
in
a
his war
4
games is
plus
you don't stay a
2,
freelancer for long.
and plus another 2,
Pick a
so
side.
6,
end up
7, 8,
being
9,
forced to pick
10,
a
11,
side.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16,
And that's
17?
what he's trying to do here, is trying to force us to pick a side.
Right. Basically,
Wow.
between the Connies and what else?
So you not only have a couple of things that you notice from the way she's been speaking. She never interrupted Bert because Bert was a Connie.
Right.
She interrupted him and changed the subject when he wouldn't do what she wanted. You have a way to attack her here about making her seem racist.
Would that be the smart thing to do, though?
It would be a very effective thing to do. Long-term ramifications are a different role and a different kind of consideration. But if you want to control this conversation and put her on the defensive, hit her with, it's very interesting you let the Connie talk, but you know, you're kind of critical of us. Bam!
I don't know if Veronica would want to go that way. She'd probably want to keep it more of a neutral ground.
So you want to say something that lets her know that you're aware of what she's trying to do and she needs to back off?
Yeah, basically.
Since you have so many raises, I will allow that. Go ahead and roleplay something and say it gets carried over.
God, I don't even know how to say that.
As I say, just go ahead and say something. We'll assume that she gets the intent.
What is the BES, the Brightwater Expeditionary what?
Jesus Christ.
BES, Brightwater Expeditionary Scouts.
There it is.
Yeah, there's not too many of us left.
So can I just say anything and it not be like...
As I said for the third time, you can
Okay.
say anything, we'll assume the intent gets over.
Okay, because like I have no like ability to do that at this particular point in time. I have to put a lot more thought into it.
Yeah, I would too. I would have to pause.
Okay, again, I have to say it for a fourth time. You have 3 raises. You can say it and I will assume the intent gets there.
That is impressive. I have to remember to order that PDF.
So
GURPS Religion?
with my travels, I've
I wanna see
seen
if you had that PDF
so
in your little
many
thing.
crazy situations
little tile
towns
you
have
had,
really
all the
gotten
GURPS stuff?
into, and
Let's see
all
if you have
that,
GURPS Religion there. I'd
and
like to
seeing the
download
way
that.
that
Okay.
they've, you know,
Let me
countered
see that book you just...
situations. I mean, it's
Open it.
post-apocalypse.
It's the same
for
one.
Christ's sake.
Side talk, guys. I can't hear her.
Sorry.
It's post-apocalypse.
I'm sorry, we're trying to keep
for
our
Christ's
voices
sake,
I
you
know, whisper, please.
You see crazy
Yeah.
stuff all the time. I mean, even though, you know, obviously Bert's got...
I
a
saw
lot of
one place that
information.
actually used humans for like target practice. They'd put them in fat men and see how far they could fly. Babies
Yeah.
flew the farthest.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of goes quiet as Radstein tries to
Yeah.
helpfully interject. And he just kind of looks at the silence and goes, I'll stick to technical jargon from now on.
Yes, please do.
Crazy stuff like that. And, you know, Bert's got a lot of information, all that. So does Father Santiago and all that. So, you know, I imagine, you know, it's one of those things where you gotta make do with whatever it is that you've been handed. Basically.
There are some, Marisol says, there are some that say that it's Connie's today. It will be ghouls and other people that the mayor doesn't consider to be good ganders tomorrow. There have been reports that some people have been driven to such desperation that either they're falling prey to ghoulism. What are you doing, dog?
I have no idea
Rolling.
what she's doing.
Sounds like she's rolling.
It sounds like she, I don't know, she was trying to bury her nose in James's backpack. I'm
You got something
wondering
in
if
there
she
food-wise?
smelled something.
Right. So there are some that say that there are people outside the walls and in the countryside, whether either falling prey to ghoulism or perhaps cannibalism, as there have been many mutilated bodies found that the mayor has been using this fear, because though there have been reports they've not been widespread, to greatly exaggerate their influence. There's even been some talk that Connies may, with the loss of their herds, have been resorting to this, as we are supposedly little more than uncouth, plains-drifting barbarians, little better than raiders.
Well, as an uncouth...
That's a direct quote from Mr. Horace, by the way, about how he feels about us. And
Well, as one
you
of those-
expect us, I let you speak, please let me speak. And you expect us to fully trust this man? I think you're being...
Well, yeah,
Very
you
naive
interrupted
there,
my
Mr.
friends. I'm
Rose.
going to have to interrupt you on this one, Miss Marisol. As one of those uncouth county barbarians, one, as I said, I will investigate this. All right? There's nobody else here apparently bothering to organize, so I will organize. One, when I came through the camp on the way in to this town, I saw quite a few things that could be done to improve sanitation. I don't know why anybody's bothered to do that before now, but we'll do it. Secondly, we need to start policing ourselves, if nothing else. If he doesn't want to police us, then fine, we'll police ourselves. A, it will keep the peace. B, it will reduce the crime. And C, it will make sure that food and supplies are distributed more evenly and more fairly. And last but not least, if we're going to police ourselves, we might as well patrol ourselves. If there is indeed ghouls and raiders out there preying on our people, then we need to go out there and prevent that. We got the core of a nice force to do that right here, right now. I say we go ahead, enlarge them, train them up, and let's take care of it. We got the military coming here in 2 days.
You heard it here first, listeners. Mr. Gummer is volunteering to wear the white hat. Are you going to put the 10-star on there as well?
Well, that's up to y'all. I'll tell you this right now, however, I am not running for mayor because I do not want that kind of responsibility, nor
Well,
do I want to be tied down.
she's referring to sheriff, the white hat, the
Yeah,
10-star.
as I said, that's up to y'all. But I am not running for mayor because
Finally,
I don't want to be tied down.
You've been strangely silent in all this, Miss Etta Mae Browning. What is your impression of the situation currently going on in Brightwater, and what would you like to see happen? Etta's very quiet for a moment, and then finally in her which I still cannot do the Pennsylvania Deutsch accent.
Yeah, that's okay.
But,
Nobody can do the
but
Pennsylvania
picture a slightly weird mixture between a Southern accent and a German one, because that's what I've been told it sounds like.
Believe me, nobody else can do it.
And she says on the lines of, I think we have all enemies enough without making enemies of each other. And although those people in power may not get to our needs right away, we need to trust that they are indeed on the itinerary and will get spoken to eventually. If we can't trust one another and then join one another with patience and truth, we might as well all be raiders.
Come here, girl. Come here. Get on up here.
Thank you, everyone. This has been Only Lonely Radio's news broadcast, the very rare interview. We will loop this every 4 hours. I do hope you've enjoyed this bit of news and tidbits, and keep tuned to Only Lonely. You have something to say in finishing, Father Santiago?
Oh, I want to talk to Mir. I want to talk to Mir.
She clicks the on-air button off, goes to her loop, and goes, "What's up?"
Just out of curiosity, how is it that you express such forceful opinions, including, speaking fairly subversively against the mayor? How is it that you're allowed to stay on air like this? Why isn't there any political pressure on you? Have you been, or even threats?
She smiles and goes, "I learned a long time ago how to use the power of a minority against the majority. I'm a woman, I'm disabled, and I'm black. Those are powerful weapons."
I thought that was so 21st century.
Sadly, the Lansing Republic is not as far removed from the time before the war as it would like to believe. The reason why you'll find a lot of Connies that look dark is because in the first days after the war, they and everyone who looked Sino got pushed out.
Okay,
Detroit used to be full of black people. When Detroit went Robo-Land, they all flooded Lansing and all these other places, and they weren't welcome there. This is exactly the same thing as happened to my ancient ancestors.
Well, at least here it's not complete totalitarian totalitarian smackdown. Otherwise,
Don't misunderstand me, Father Santiago. Brightwater is a beautiful place. It's one of the best places in the Republic, in my humble opinion. It is right on the cusp of being everywhere. Mm-hmm. You're halfway between the Singer homeland, the Yooper Woods, the Connie Trails, and I even occasionally see a Soccer or a Kickapoo that comes up here. I have high hopes for the town. And I'm not saying that Lansing itself is terrible. But everything human has problems, and Lansing has some problems that it has not prioritized. And I get why. I'm not saying that it's nefarious. You have the monarchy over on the east occasionally trying to come east. You've got ghouls coming, and then you've got those weird things up north that nobody wants to believe are real. And
they're real.
And no one would believe they're real until they started running the mail. Every time I see one of those little freaky midgets on her radstag, it gives me the creeps. I have a racist reaction. Think about that.
Drink.
I, who have been subject to it, have it.
Everybody has it, darling. That's a given.
It requires a great deal of determination, Christian character, if you will, stoicism, to rise above our natural urges.
My question is, do you have the patience to see this through, slowly, methodically, and hopefully without violence, without stirring up any revolutionary fervor?
I can be very patient.
That's all I'm asking.
I'm black. I'm a woman. And I'm disabled. But at the same time, how long would you have told the original 13 colonies they had to wait?
Well, fair enough.
There comes a point when revolution is required.
We didn't hear you.
Hopefully, as she points to her shirt, you have the smart person leading the revolution. Remember, her shirt says Huey Long had it right, but he was an idiot. Mm-hmm. You have the right person leading the revolution who has foresight and can control it and aim all that violence in the place it needs to go. Well, and most importantly, does not get addicted to the power. The greatest accomplishment of the American Republic before the war was that it arranged a system where you didn't really have kings. Everybody wants to be king.
I don't.
That's because you're smart. Now,
well, Ms. Marisol, all we're going to ask you to do is be patient.
If you would.
And not incite anything that you possibly can. As a matter of fact, I would like you to talk people down, if you could. Mm-hmm. Let me try.
It is my obligation as a reporter to report things as they happen, and it's my obligation as an editorialist to give my personal opinion, and I will do both those things. But I will give you this, let's call it consideration. If I see something that might result an unduly stoking rage or fires, or if I see something that seems suspect, something somebody wants me to say to get someone's goat or to start something, I'll let you know about it first before I broadcast it.
That's good enough for now.
Fair enough.
That'll work.
I mean, I may have to ask more of you later to try and prevent a full-scale fight, but I'm hoping you'll see my way on it.
She looks at you with a look that's both smoldering and daring, wondering how far you'll go. Quid pro quo, white boy.
Let's just come to an agreement that we may in the future come to an agreement. I'm not going to promise anything now if you don't want to promise anything now.
In the spirit of talking this out, it seems from understanding the situation fairly fundamentally, this place is suffering an influx of refugees from the east because
you have as many refugees right now outside the wall as there are native citizens.
Okay. So they're coming from the east because they are
being pressed by war and other considerations.
Okay. So does that tell me that this is there doesn't seem to be any end in sight for this influx? It's going to.
And that's my point.
And before someone accuses me of blending real world politics, this has nothing to do with Syria or our current real world border wall crisis. This is just something you actually see it fall out from time to time. This actually happened also. Something similar to this actually happens in the New Vegas game.
Yeah, and this is the reason why I'm trying to tell her that she needs to be very, very patient because this isn't going to end anytime soon, from Bert's estimation of the problem.
So, Bert, from a tactical or from a strategic standpoint, I guess we have to find out what the cause of this.
We're going through a period of invasion right now. Whatever is pushing these raiders east is coming out from west of the mountains, according to the raiders we've talked to, which means this is going to continue
Right.
for years.
Yep.
This isn't stopping anytime soon.
You're looking at a theater condition, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to explain, Marisol. This ain't gonna end anytime soon. So right now, causing hate and discontent is just gonna leave us vulnerable to being overrun jointly.
Well, speaking as the GM, that was actually handled pretty well. You gave Marisol enough to make her happy, but not enough for her to use for her own ends.
Mm-hmm. So all I'm asking you to do, Miss Marisol, is just be patient. Otherwise, we all hang together.
Okay.
All right. The first thing, as I said, we're going to improve the sanitation out there. I'm a soldier. I know how to do that. They're farmers and they're ranchers. They don't. There's no slam on them. That's just the facts of life. I know how to make a whole lot of people live together in tight quarters without getting sick. I will deal with the mayor when it comes to the food and water. I'm not saying I'm going to produce a miracle, but I'll at least keep it coming. When the general gets here, that will become easier since the general outranks his ass, and he's going to need every swinging dick and tit with a gun, Connie and Lansing, to fight.
How many chips do you have there, Matthew?
If I remember correctly, I have 5 now.
Would you like to make an idea roll for me for a solution that's not been broached yet? That I'm surprised you haven't thought of either. So that you all know what an idea roll is. An idea roll is actually something I borrowed from Call of Cthulhu that I thought needed to be in Savage Rolls. If the players are trying to solve a problem in a obvious idea that they have not hit upon, if they're talking about it, they just can't see it, the GM can ask for a chip, you get an idea roll, and if you make a success, how many raises you get, I can be more forthcoming on it. Give me an idea roll.
All right, what am I rolling?
You're rolling your smarts, and this would actually be your travels.
All right.
This would be something you've seen, so it'd be travel skill.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, I would have liked to have tried to figure it out.
Only one that time.
Before we got
All right,
here.
so
He's got 5 chips though, so
Okay.
that's why I asked.
12.
It occurs to you with your 2 raises, you haven't heard anyone say they've assigned an engineer to actually plan out the camps. The camps just sort of appeared ramshackle. If these people don't
That's
have like an engineering or repair skill,
geez.
they have no idea about water drainage. They have no idea how to set up a camp. No wonder they're having sanitation problems.
That's what I was aiming at. As I said, I'm a soldier. I know how to do this.
So find a local engineer, which would be the guy with the Hanukkah lights on his head.
Like I said, that's what I was going to do.
Okay.
I just wasn't saying it. I wasn't using the word engineer, but I said I'm a military man. I know how to do this. I will put the right people in charge to get this done.
My initial thought was our first priority is to figure out to leave and to figure out what's causing, basically to stem the flow of the inflow. But that's not our immediate problem.
No,
actually,
probably now
you
is take
don't
care of
want
the
to
people
stem
that are
the flow.
actually here.
You don't want to stem the flow because the more people we have here, the stronger our defense becomes.
Keep in mind, the problem they're having is that there's so many people here, and a lot of them aren't locals, that you're having friction between the two groups. So the first question is, calm down the friction.
Right.
Then the second problem is allocate resources.
Okay.
Then the third problem is, let's talk about what we're actually going to do with these people long term.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right?
And
Because
that's
your
where I was
choices,
getting to
because your
next.
choices are either recloak them away from Brightwater, or go out into the wilderness they were driven from and try to stop whatever it is that's driving them
Right.
this
That
way.
seems to be impractical right now.
And that's impractical at this moment.
At this moment, keep in
But
mind, you do
that's-
have the military currently on its way.
And that's what I was getting ready. I was getting ready to get those 2 next problems.
Now,
right.
another question I need to have, just so I can put this in proper context. Brightwater is a city that can hold approximately how many people?
Well, it's not a city, it's a town.
It's a town that has a population normally.
I believe I said its normal population is about 2,000 people, and with trains it gets up to about 4 to 5.
And where are we at right now?
You're right now at about 3,000 people inside the walls and about 4,000 people outside.
So it's getting.
Yeah, it's way beyond its capacity to hold right now.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. And as I was getting ready to get to these next 2 problems. Okay, next we're going to start, like I said, we're going to get the scouts set up. We're going to round up every 4-legged critter that can be eaten and get it here. We need to rebuild the herds as quickly as we can. The raiders can't get them all. So everything that moves out there.
Range rustling.
Yeah, well, like I said, this is the thing about rustling. When rustlers go after a herd.
Between I forget. Well, you're talking to Ed right now. Ed goes, "That sounds great, but unfortunately, without an organized effort, I mean, the only thing I can think of is get the colonies that are out there to do it.
That's what
Maybe.
I'm talking about.
Because without organized effort, you're going to lose people left and right from all the predators and stuff out there. Not to mention raiders.
And that's what I've said. We need to get the scouts out there, find the herds, hunt down the threats, and get the herds back here. And yes, that's going to be organizing the connies.
Well, it's getting towards night now. Why don't we all go to sleep?
All right.
Wake up in the morning.
And last but not least, once the military gets here, they can do a lot of the patrolling for the dangers, and we can concentrate on the herds full time.
Sounds like a plan.
You said
Then,
approximately 4,000, right?
and then,
Yeah.
once we get the camp organized and sanitized, we're going to build our own defenses outside the camps. A second line of defense. If they want to wall themselves off in there, then we'll create another wall of our own. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a trench and a berm. But it's going to be better than what we have. Because right now we're just sitting ducks for anything that rolls on in.
Shouldn't we start calling?
In fact, here's the Brightwater map so you can
inquiring
see what
about
she
what
looks
kind of
like.
talent we have?
Well, I will, but I have to
Okay.
inspect everything first because I'm not taking anybody's word on that.
Okay.
Because the problem with taking anybody's word on that is they only know what they know. I have to go and talk to multiple people, try and get what everybody knows. Because you can bet your ass that somebody's holding out on somebody else.
Is this a copy?
No, that's the original.
Okay.
We need to get a copy of that, by the way.
I will
Yeah.
get to it as soon as I can.
You got a copy of your sheet where you work?
We have no, we have a copies machine right there.
Yeah, but see, that map is going to have some things added to it in the next week.
Oh, okay. I see what you're
That map's
saying.
not done yet.
I see what you're saying. Want me to get you some bigger paper?
No,
I
I'm
got
good.
the double-sized paper.
I'm good. I don't mind sectioning things out.
Says
Okay.
population 1,000 to 1,200. That's
Yeah, normally.
okay, and we're at 7,000, including people outside the gate.
Yes. The town the town candidates max hold about 2,000 people, but you got people doubling up in rooms and things like that.
Okay.
And that will also put the tent city full.
That would explain also, from the mayor's point of view, why so many connies were pushed out of town.
Now you know why he's in such straits. He has too many people in town not listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
that's a bad situation.
the thing is I understand where he's coming from, because yeah, he's the civilian authority and he's even now the military authority, but orders are, and this is something a lot of people don't get about, especially even in martial law situations, orders only work if the people underneath you are willing to follow them. If they're not, you have to start shooting people or arresting people, and if you don't have support to do that, you'll end up on the floor with a bullet in your forehead. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm saying I don't like him, because he kind of put himself in a situation by not acting quickly to begin with. And I wasn't going to say that to his face. But nonetheless, I have to respect him because he's done the best he can with what he has. And it could have gone a lot worse if he had broke down and panicked like he did the first time around in front of us when we were being shot.
Keep in mind, it's probably
So,
the first firefight he'd actually ever been in.
Yeah, like I said,
That's why he had that reaction.
Like I said, I
But when it comes to actually commanding, giving orders, then he's in his element.
had to play Bert like he is, which is a hot
I
man.
know.
So
All right,
anyway.
so when you wake up the next morning, you are greeted to a sound in the air. It sounds like a huge rumbling.
Oh, good God Almighty.
And flying over your heads about maybe like buzzing your heads like 300 feet up are a pair of Brewster buffaloes. Has you ever seen a Brewster buffalo other than myself?
No.
Matthew knows her. A Brewster buffalo is a very interesting aircraft. It is one of the original aircraft from World War II. People thought this thing sucked because it's a very stout aircraft. It's got a big, huge engine on the front, big, wide wings.
It looks like a cartoon character.
Okay, and a little itty bitty stubby tail.
Looks like a cartoon
Okay.
character.
And sideways, it looks like this.
Where's my phone?
All right. Now, the reason why this plane looks the way it does is that it was originally one of the first attempts to try to put a plane on an aircraft carrier, so they thought they had to make it short and stubby,
It's also based on a
put
racer.
room. Okay. This aircraft was largely considered shit by most pilots.
Unless you're Finnish. You love
The
it.
Finns shot down more Russian and German planes in this little thing than anybody else for the first year of the war. It is incredibly tough. It's got a big armor tub around the engine. It's actually a very beautiful idea for a design. But there weren't a lot of them made.
Very compact and thick.
Very compact and thick, okay? So the factory for them actually is, guess where? Guess where it was?
Lansing, Michigan.
Lansing, Michigan.
Oh.
So they had the designs. And all you need to make that airplane fly is something to turn that propeller, right? Like a fission battery that you can find in all the robots.
Mm.
So one of the first things the Lansing Republic did
There you go.
is it took all these old Brewster Buffaloes, put fission batteries in them, and then rather than machine guns, every surviving Gatling laser they could find are now in these wings. So it's an aircraft that literally can fly forever. It has unlimited ammo.
And it has a radial engine, which means you can shoot off half the engine and it'll still work.
According to Wiki, the Finns put them to the best use.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Shooting down all the
Everybody else
Soviet
was-
aircraft.
Uh-huh.
Everybody else that flew those things, it was a disaster and a death waiting to happen.
But for some reason, Finland was the magic combination.
Yeah. Well, also because they stripped the crap out of the thing.
Yes.
They stripped
They were
the
built by
crap out of
Grumman, if I remember correctly.
it. Brewster.
Brewster?
Yeah. Apparently what they did was they stripped the crap out of the things, left only only 4 machine guns in it. And
Because of this, the Brewster Buffalo has become kind of the unofficial symbol for the Lansing Air Force, and a lot of people associate with Lansing itself. There's actually a joke that that star on the Lansing Gander wrap is actually supposed to represent a buffalo because it's kind of squat. Like that, right? So 2 of these guys go flying over. They do victory rolls as they pass by, and the whole town, inside outside, just cheers raggedly, because I would imagine the post-apocalypse, if you have a flying Air Force, that's something to really like bolster the men, right?
Yeah. Well,
Then
where
you
were you?
see, off in the distance, 6 of these things. These big 4-engine airships. They refer to these as elephants. 6 of these come flying in. These are troop transports. They come flying in, they start driving guide ropes, they start dropping troops off directly, troops start sliding down the ropes. You're looking at about probably 200 armed, trained, first crack black hats. And the black hats are the elite infantry division for the Lansing Republic.
Oh, they're not shitting around.
Along with 20 Spartans. Their version of Special Forces.
All right.
They're really not playing around.
I'm going to go.
About did you mean in real world it was in Michigan?
I believe Real World Factory was in Michigan.
No, there was 3 factories. One in Long Island, Newark, and Warminster Township, Pennsylvania.
My mistake. I thought one of the factories was in Michigan, but Pennsylvania's
Who knows?
Pennsylvania's close enough because the forefathers were given it. But anyway, okay. So you've got the Brewster Buffalo there. You've got those big elephant ships sitting off, and then out of the back of the elephants, the ramps load, and you see 15-foot tall mechanical men suddenly hit the ground.
Are they in power armor?
As 6 warbots.
Oh my god.
They're really going
All
to
right.
town
Well,
here.
I'm going to head into the Connie camp to make sure.
Come on
nobody-
down. And when
sure
everybody
everybody
sees
doesn't
those
get stupid.
15-foot tall metal monsters hit the ground, painted in their bright colors,
Yeah.
everybody just kind of goes, whoa. Now remember, you got to report how many people were coming this way?
Mm-hmm.
Thousands. No wonder they sent all this as fast as they could,
Yeah.
right? But it also means now you've got a significant military base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That we gotta feed people now.
And it might
Soldiers.
complicate the issue, because what do soldiers do when they're on leave?
Drink,
Drink,
screw,
screw.
and fight.
Cause trouble.
Like, hey, we gotta get the infrastructure going, man.
Like I said, I'm heading straight to the camp to keep things calm. I'm going to leave 2 boys here with Marisol to make sure that nobody fucks
Are
with
there
her.
any other
You look-
military officers here that are
Yeah, you just saw them come off the elephants.
okay?
As you look, you see the 3 commanding officers. You see one for the Spartans. He's wearing a lieutenant colonel badge. You see a general for the actual Lansing 1st Black Hat Brigade. And then you see a guy wearing the insignia of the Power Corps called the Knights. And he's going to be in charge of their power armor and their warbots. You don't see any Elsies, which is kind of odd. You're like, where are the scouts? They might be coming in still. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And as you all are approaching, you see that the mayor's already there talking to them. And it's hard to not feel bad because you can see Horace. You can't hear him over the engine. You can see his mouth moving, and all 3 senior officers are just ignoring him, just looking at their troops deploying.
Oh my.
Okay, there was the Spartans, the Power Corps, and what was the third?
The Black Hat Brigade,
Okay.
1st Michigan Regulars.
This is getting complex. Now, in this particular time frame that we're playing in, is this pre-Brotherhood of Steel?
No, Brotherhood of Steel is actually a faux force. They tried to sack the... Have you listened to the videos I put online on the Lansing...
I really haven't.
They tried to sack.
The Brotherhood tried to actually destroy the Lansing Republic.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've already fought.
And they got spanked because one of the Brotherhood Knights turned on them and warned Lansing of the attack. They set an ambush. There's a big thing that happened in Lansing City where it took place.
Okay.
The Battle of Lansing. It went on for 3 days.
Then I'm assuming that
they've already fought their war.
was pro keeping a hold of technology then.
The reason why the Brotherhood turned on Lansing was that there's this thing over in Detroit, this robot AI that the Brotherhood was unsure anyone should get. And they were afraid the Lansing Republic was basically going to set up not an expeditionary force to go in there, but allow the conditions to take place where some ingenious adventurer was going to get in there and sell the technology out. They needed to be closer to raid Detroit. The only way to do that was to take the Lower Peninsula. Lansing had to go, and it backfired on them.
Oh, okay.
It backfires on them when a Brotherhood steel agent by the name of Eurydice J turns on them.
I'm sorry, I got caught up in the lore. It was the Spartans, the Power Corps, and the Black what?
Black hats.
Black
First Michigan regulars.
Is that black space hats or black hats one word?
They actually have like a black hat, no space, just black hat. It looks like a tricorn hat with one of the edges up.
Are these guys basically the equivalent of special forces?
You
No.
said that.
No. The special forces are the Spartans.
Okay.
So the black hats.
The
are
black
elite.
hats would be like Big Red One, or
Okay.
maybe the 80 Deuce.
Matt, this is going to be your area to shine, man.
I wouldn't quite put them on the 101 level because we don't quite have that kind
That
of
would
air power.
That unfortunately would be player knowledge, not necessarily character knowledge.
Yeah.
So character-wise, he is kind of more or less over his head here, and
But
way above his grade.
since you can tell these at the professional military, you notice that everybody has a uniform, everybody looks uniform, everybody's gear looks fresh, and you see a hell of a lot of energy weapons with these guys.
That's good.
These guys
The
are not.
amount of trade they must have on
Yeah,
them.
these guys are not packing like ramshackle rifles and stuff. These guys are carrying like fresh plasma rifles, well-maintained AESs.
Yeah, these guys are way outside my experience in pay grade. I don't go that far east very
The
much.
pigman's not carrying a saw. The pigman's carrying a Gatling laser.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking. Basically, Brightwater is
Who?
usually about as far east as I get.
Pigman's a Vietnam slang term for whoever's holding the M60.
The
Pigman.
general machine gunner.
Yeah, the pigmen for these guys, they aren't carrying saws. They're carrying Gatling lasers.
Actually, you wouldn't carry a saw either. You carry an M6. You carry a
The
FN.
point is, the saw would be the most thing that Ray would probably know,
Oh,
like
okay.
a ballistic machine gun.
M60.
Rather than a ballistic machine gun, they're carrying an energy weapon instead.
They're not carrying an M60. They're carrying a Gatling gun.
Those Gatling lasers are nasty.
Yes. So my point is that Bert has no experience with this shit. It's way outside his pay grade. He doesn't go that far east very often. So,
All right. The three senior officers turn and they see the party, and the Spartan goes like this.
To who?
Two.
The party.
Oh,
To
the whole
us?
party? Okay.
all right, boys, girls, let's go get shot.
Wait, we can't take
Figuratively
we have to
speaking.
We have to just talk this out. With
Figuratively
this guy.
speaking, I'm not talking literally.
Spartan steps away from the senior officers who are dealing with Horace, walks down to you, says, "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Catine."
Mhm.
Good to meet you, Veronica Rose.
Colonel, could you spell your name, please?
Catine, K-I-T-A-I-N-E.
French?
Yes, actually. My people originally from Quebec.
Well, so are a lot of folks. Technically, so are mine. Way back when. Yes, Gummer is technically a Alsatian name.
I have heard the radio broadcast on the way in. You all look like the people I've heard speaking.
Oh, they heard
Yeah,
the
and also,
broadcast.
I couldn't help but notice that when he saw you at the corner of his eye, the good mayor, and he says that with all the derision it deserves, the good mayor made it a point to speak louder to the two other officers. So I take it you're the people that actually know what the shit is happening here?
Well, we know his side and we know the Connie side. And let's just say the stories match about half the time and contradict about half the
Well,
time.
from what I've read the reports, he didn't seem to have acted stupidly. He just didn't seem to act fast enough.
That's been my
Correct.
impression as well. Also, he's just basically out of his depth. Not saying that he's an incompetent administrator, because frankly, he's not.
He's just unseasoned.
He's just unseasoned, and frankly, he has no idea how to deal with the situation. And to be fair to the man, from what I've been able to gather, frankly, nobody really wants to listen to him when he's telling people to behave themselves.
When people get scared, that happens.
Yeah. So he can't really enforce the rule of law at this point, which is where we need you guys to do so. As long as it's being done in an impartial, fair
Who's
manner.
the sheriff?
As far as I can tell, we don't.
Sheriff got killed, remember?
Yeah. So as far as I can tell at this point in time, we don't have a sheriff.
Mhm.
Oh, shit.
And he didn't bother to appoint one, which is one of the problems.
He's probably afraid whoever his appoint will try to take him out for mayor next, because that's simply what happens in small.
Well, I've already told him
Sounds like
point blank,
this.
I don't care about being
In
mayor.
many small podunk towns, the sheriff and the mayor are the same person.
Yeah, I know. I told him point blank I'm not running for mayor anymore because frankly he's better. I don't want the stress of his job anymore after seeing it. So, and frankly I made that threat in a moment of anger.
He looks at you, goes, "You got a Connie accent. You Connie?"
Yes.
He's not Southern. Yeah. By the
That
way,
was
I would have
good.
something too, but it's not a chip.
That was
Can we carry
good.
over to the next session if we don't use them, or
No.
No.
Ah.
No,
You better start showing
Savage
mine
World
here.
does not let you carry over chips. Cell swords, I'm tempted to let it happen, but I'm not quite sure.
I actually would say let it happen because that approach follows the stories.
You might as well test it out.
Eh.
I would say test it out and see what happens because it's one of those
Yeah.
things
So,
where you could get
going on a
huge
brief tangent, when I listen to
pile.
Deadlands guys do this and their players carry chips over, the problem becomes
They accumulate
that you will have a player that sits there and hoards chips.
Oh, yes.
And then what will happen
That's
is
what I
when
was
you're
saying.
trying to introduce them to the main villain for the next story,
Still use them all.
they has all this bound up and he can destroy your story. That's why I'm tempted
Yeah.
not to let them
Not
carry
smart.
over
Yeah.
except
That's smart.
You
section to
could
session.
have it to where you can only carry over so many chips at a time. Like
Yeah, you
can
one
limit it.
chip.
Then they'll carry over like all the epics and all the blues.
True.
That's
And
true.
you're in the same exact situation.
It's true. He
Well, you
would
could
do that. I would do that.
Carry
That's
over
smart thing to
the
do.
What I like about
minimum.
letting them be in sessions, that means when the actual ending firefight scene happens, when the high drama should happen, like in a movie, the players are using their chips to represent that high drama. So I kind of like being in the session. The only thing I consider about letting them carry over is I thought about, if I let minor chips carry over, like maybe have there
That's
be,
what I was thinking.
let
Yeah,
there be,
one chip.
hold on, let there be an advantage that you'd have to buy with points. So you're investing part of your character, and this could be invested in other things.
Ah.
This then becomes part of your character theme.
Mm.
That you can take chips. That's why they bring you along. It would represent that lucky sidekick
Yeah.
that always seems to be next to the hero,
Yeah, Gabrielle.
and why we tolerate them when they keep getting us into trouble.
Yeah, like Gabrielle. Always gets Cena in trouble, then always gets her out.
Exactly.
And also keeps her sane.
Although I was thinking more of Iolus, but all right.
He's
So-
even worse.
So back to the game. So
I have to use the bathroom.
Lieutenant Colonel looks at you right down that hallway. Lieutenant Colonel looks at you and he's
Right
like,
at the end.
so I gotta say, from what I've seen so far in the reports and such, I am mildly concerned about our defenses.
Oh, there's a lot to be concerned about. For one, we got the Brightwater folks and the commies here pointing guns at each other rather than pointing guns out.
Well, you know what I've discovered in my many years in the military?
Give them a common enemy?
Grumbling Spartans are happy Spartans. You give them something to do.
Oh, I intend to do that right quick. First thing, I'm going to make this little camp of ours into something that's actually sanitary. And
You're going to put on public work projects. I like that.
oh, yeah.
You sure you don't want to be mayor?
And then, well, frankly, he's not bothering to be mayor out in the camp, so somebody's got to do that job, at least for right now. I actually tend to hand it over to Miss Marisol as soon as I can. After all, if she wants to do the revolution, she's going to have to do the paperwork.
Nice.
Funny how once you have responsibilities, your revolutionary zeal kind of fades.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the things I was keeping in my pocket. I didn't want to tell her.
All
And
right.
he needs to know because he's going to be part of the operation on this.
Well, you're probably going to see me and my boys much as we're probably almost always going to be out in the field.
And that's something I wanted to talk to you all
Is there a
about.
good spot for us to set up a fort?
I would say the best spot is the line of hills and trees we got running across around the radio
So he
station.
looks over at the hills where you see the radio station, the other hills out beyond that. He's
Pretty
like,
much the entire valley is covered by those.
I'd like to have about another half mile between us and the town just to keep people from wandering into live fire exercises or something like that.
Well, on the other side of those hills is pretty much howling wilderness, so you're pretty much clear there. But if you want to use the infrastructure
Water sources?
of town, water sources are pretty scattered around here, but as you can see from the tree cover, it's
From what we
not
saw, the only really
rare.
reliable one is the town
Yeah.
well.
So if you want to use the infrastructure of town, you're going to have to stay close, unfortunately. That's actually part of the problem we're having right now.
What about running a pipeline?
If you ran a pipeline, you're going to have to constantly patrol it, and that's going to suck manpower.
Water purifiers?
Water purifiers will work, but only if you can find another source. My personal opinion is if you find another source, then do so. There's not enough
He
water
looks
to
at
go around
Veronica
right now.
Rose,
Mm.
and the Spartan goes, "You have a reputation for finding things.
Do I now?
From what I've seen in the radio traffic from Lansing, Lansing says that you have encountered a couple of vaults.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, about a couple. It kind of happened. You know, when you're wandering around often enough, you come across things.
Lansing also says you're actually also fairly good at being a team player and following orders.
Well, you're not gonna be a good.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be a good trader unless you make connections and stuff and network and
I'll do
all
what I'm told as
that.
long as
So
I
there's
pay
a
well.
pre-war bit of tech called a water chip. A water chip is a kind of synthesizing agent that takes matter, takes moisture from the air, binds it with the matter to purify it and get out any bacteria impurities, and then gives out clean water. Almost every vault had at least two.
So basically H2O. Hydrogen, oxygen out of the air, purifies the
Now-
air.
Since it's made for a vault, he looks at his troops that are deploying. it would probably be about the right size and quality producing. It could help us greatly, if not suffice all of our needs for our fort.
Well, speaking of vaults, we knew a vault nearby.
Can I commission you to go start looking? This would be a long-term project, so we're not sure which vault to look for, where it might be, when it might be guarded. I mean, this is going to be a fairly dangerous thing, but...
Here's the vault we found the good father in. It's pretty close by. It's cleaned out, more or less, except for the bugs.
Did we blow that vault up?
That went boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no telling how much it actually survived. Those things are built solid.
Be worth the trip. It's not that far away. Only
Yeah.
about a month, right?
That's the first stop I would make, just in case
True.
the machinery survived.
Check that out.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the
I
computers are
could
toast.
probably, like, we downloaded a lot of records from the vault, right? So
did.
she could probably peruse through there and see if there was mention of any other vaults local in the
All
area
right.
as well.
So the Spartan quickly takes out his own Pip Boy, because you ever believe they're going to get the good toys to the good people.
Yeah.
Of course
He
not.
quickly types out a contract, sends you the contract, and all of a sudden it dings on your Pip Boy. And you're not sure how he did that. Because he didn't use a cord.
It's called Wi-Fi.
It doesn't exist in the Fallout universe.
I know,
Yeah.
but he does apparently have it.
Would you mind showing me that trick?
Ooh.
Radio relay.
Look, I heard about that.
Take a look.
I saw it on the
I'll keep
bookshelf
that
a
in
while ago at the store.
Okay.
Of course, you know, this whole thing would be a lot easier if my robot was repaired back to working order, because he's able to store a lot more information than on my Pip-Boy.
Actually, she's kind of right about that. We kind of need the robot back.
He's about to say something to this Pip Boy beats. Beep, beep. Give me a second. Turns over, puts the receiver up. Hey, what is it?
Ooh, yes, the kebabs.
Really? Well, I suppose I can fly him out after.
Oh, man.
Will do.
Swordfish briquettes.
We're going to be in town, start getting things set. There's going to be a town meeting tonight. I'd like for you all to be there to voice your opinions, as well as help us sway some of the townspeople seeing things into a manner that is their benefit. One of the, you see the Spartan being a military man has some mixed views of democracy. One of the joyful things about civilians is they think they have the right to say how they get to run their lives rather than do what's sensible. So I need you all to help me convince them to do what's right for them.
Well, I'll be there to represent the county interest, that's for sure. I would like to talk to you, though, about those patrols, because right now one of the things we're having is a nasty food shortage, and most of the counties here are former ranchers and farmers.
Before I can put military people into patrols, I have to get, looks over at horses, the official government's permission.
Understandable. I just want to talk to you about how to do this.
If, however, you want to go persuade them, I'll be happy to loom over your shoulder and look intimidating. I'm told I do that quite well.
Oh, I'll be happy to have that. Yeah, I need to see what I want to do is use his patrols
We'll
to
talk
basically
later
provide a
about your
shell
robot.
while we're rounding up all the loose
Okay.
cattle, loose Brahmas. If he can form a shell, then we can round up the Brahmas without losing too many people. And we're supposed to worry about the roaches and shit. Maybe the blood, blood
What
flies
do you
and
mean by
stuff.
shell?
Basically, they'll provide, as far as any two-legged or large-scale four-legged threats, they'll provide basically a roving wall of well-armed, well-trained, and very deadly bodies.
Like a cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while we can be inside their perimeter, rounding up all the loose cattle and bringing them back to town.
Would you kind of hand me the Brightwater map, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Because they're going to have to do it, because the only way to secure the immediate area for at least a good 20 square miles, 20 miles in diameter in every direction, is to basically search and destroy everything that fucking moves and is dangerous. He's going to have to do that anyway.
You
I
see the
just wanna
Buffaloes do
coordinate
one
with
more
them.
victory roll and they start flying east.
I just want to do a coordination with him on that, so we can work together.
Veronica, roll your smarts real quick.
So our first priority is to
Get the locals here behaving themselves and try to cool tensions, and then get the camp in an organized fashion so people don't keep
The
dying
crazy reason why the
disease.
planes had to leave is that
That's
there's
the
nowhere
first
for them to
step to
land.
hit themselves.
Ah!
Yeah, first
We don't have
thing
an
to hand
airport.
themselves is to get everybody stop hating each other.
So once it's Veronica realizes that the Brewster Buffaloes take off and leave because there's nowhere for them to land. They don't have a runway.
Yeah.
Whereas the airships just kind of like coast down. The planes actually need a run path. That might be something to bring up at the meeting.
Oh,